everyone, Satchidananda here in Singapore. Thank you so much for joining me on the Night Owl podcast. As always, I am thrilled to be on here, happy to be sharing my thoughts and feelings and beliefs as things change, as things evolve. I want to show you what it is that I'm contemplating at the moment and maybe how I'm deciding to change my own strategies going forward. So I get a chance to share with you guys. I get a chance to show you that I'm evolving, I'm changing. It is my sincere belief that it's better to grow with a brand than it is to, be told that this is all there is and this is exactly what it's going to be from here until the end of time, and then not leave room for us to evolve as well, because I feel like people need their expectations to be managed. And for me, I am the brand. I am the name of my company. I represent the ideas that I feel best about, most comfortable with, and this is the way I want to choose to live my life, to put it out there for the public to criticize and feedback on. And even then, I'm letting you know, sometimes I make mistakes and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I find a way to do things that no one has really taught me. I kind of discovered it for myself. And sometimes I use other people's work because they've put it out there for us to learn from, and it's worked for me or it hasn't worked for me. Either way, I'm going to be honest about it. I'm going to let you know what I think at the moment, which also means, hey, these are all my opinions. These are all things I've tested in my own life. I'm not guaranteeing any specific outcome, but I'm telling you from my own experience, some of these things really do work. So for me, lately, I had to go back and pick up one of my favorite books. I don't know about you, but I think in every religion there is like a page a day kind of book somewhere out there. There are, Bible stories day by day, or, excerpts that come from the Quran, or, I don't even know, any of the spiritual scriptures. There are plenty of page a day quote type calendars where you can, turn the page or come to a specific day of the week or a day of the year, and it has a thought for the day that you're supposed to kind of marinate with for a little bit and see how it changes your mind or uplifts your spirit for the day to come. So for me, I always go back to The Golden Present, which is a book by Swami Satchidananda, and it's been reprinted in a newer edition, I think, but I have one of the originals, and I was lucky enough to have Swamiji autograph it before he passed. And I was going through all of his dates. I kind of randomly open it sometimes because I just need something, right? And I don't know what it is that I'm looking for, and maybe it's not on the date of today, the passage for today, but sometimes when I randomly open the book, I get the message that I need. So today, I was actually scrolling through his Instagram feed, and it came up to this one quote that says, meeting life's challenges. And he says, difficult situations may come. They will give us a chance to prove our trust in a higher energy. And if the pain in our lives is properly understood, it will never frighten us. If people could climb Everest without risks, it wouldn't be an adventure. And life is to challenge you with its ups and downs, ride over them. And I got to thinking about that a little bit, and it's not that I agree or disagree. I've seen it in my own life that I absolutely know that difficult situations always come, especially when I suddenly get into like a comfort zone of sorts. Something will come to kind of challenge all of that, and I'll have to evolve once again. And lately, that's kind of how I've been feeling. So then he says that it gives us a chance to prove our trust in a higher energy. And that is the truth. If when I come or meet face to face with, a new challenge, if I fight it with all of my might, I find that I create more stress and more strife in my life. I create more drama than is absolutely necessary. But if I trust that, okay, whatever's happening right now, whichever direction it's trying to move me into, is for my best and highest good, that something out there is protecting me. It doesn't have to be God. It could be source. It could be just nature in general. Whatever you want to call it, if I trust that whatever happens next is going to get me to that place that I want to be, that I will be taken care of, that I will be provided for, it's in those moments where I really just kind of give it to God or give it over to source, that I find my heart relax a little bit. I quieten my mind a little bit, and I can go on about the daily details that I can control rather than figuring out, okay, well, how's this going to turn out? What's it going to do for me? How is it going to affect my life? I kind of take it in stride. And when that happens, I find that I am provided with answers for the new challenges that are popping up. Like, this is the direction I need to go. So perhaps, let me think about this for a second. When I started having a lot of friction with my last job, and it wasn't just one job, it had happened a couple of jobs before the last one as well. So in the last three, let's say, it was long hours, it was tuition based, so it was a lot to do with the school system, but it wasn't school hours. It was after the fact because these people were coming for tuition, right? So they expect us to stay until 6 or 7 at least, and then we have to contend with the commute home. So that was not feasible for me because I have a child in school, and as much as I want to put her in student care, they only close at 7, and if I don't go pick her up by 7, I'm in deep shit because who's going to pick her up? And I don't want them to have to call the police. I don't want to cause any trouble, right? So I'm trying my best to get home in time to pick up my child. Now, in a few of those jobs, I was given the ability to go pick her up as soon as school got out, which is at 1:45, bring her back home. So that would be my lunch hour. I would run to go get her, bring her back to work, and then she'd stay with me until I finished work. Because it was in the education realm, it was possible, but it was very stressful as well because when she's home with me, she wants to play, she wants to hang out with me. She doesn't actually want to let me do my work. I still have work to do, right? So I had a tough time with that, and every time it would be a struggle to convince my boss that, hey, I'm a parent first before I'm your employee, and I don't get paid to be a parent, but yes, I depend on your salary to be able to feed my family, but that doesn't give you the right to kind of blur the line between home and work life. That doesn't give you the right to kind of own me even after hours where I have to answer phone calls and answer text messages and answer emails well after my work shift is done. And to actually draw that line over and over again made me appear to them as an unwilling team member. And so when that continually came up, I had to find a way to get rid of the job and find another job because I still needed the money. Eventually, I got fed up and I was like, look, obviously this is going to continue happening no matter where the hell I work in Singapore. So what I had to figure out next was, well, what do I do in the meantime? And I'd had this nagging idea in the back of my head that I should start my own business. And I did. I had whether you realize this or not, I had my business license for 2 years before I did anything with it. I started really putting in work on my business full time in 2017, but I had my business license since 2015, and I had been dabbling here and there a little bit, trying to figure out what it was that I wanted to do, and I wasn't sure. I didn't have any direction. I just had the license. And so it wasn't until these last 3 jobs that I had that I realized, yeah, this is not going to change no matter where I go. People have this culture in Singapore where you work and work and work and work and work, and then you work some more because obviously if you're smart, you'd have a maid take care of everything that you have to do in the house so you can just work. But that's not me. I can't do that. I wanted desperately to be a part of my daughter's life because from where I was standing, it was just me and her. I didn't have anyone to take over for me. I didn't have anyone that I could leave her with that I trusted. And I wasn't about to have some stranger living in my house. I'd already done that and it didn't end well and I had to get rid of her. So when push came to shove and change happened, as it always does, I realized, all right, it's do or die. Either I create the solution I need or I continue having this problem over and over again, and before I know it, this child will be grown and out of the house, and I can't say that I was there for every scrape knee, and I wasn't there to, teach her how to play soccer or football or basketball or ride a bike, and I wasn't about to have that. I am a homeschool mom. I loved taking care of her. I loved teaching her along the way, and yeah, it's not quite like that right now. I do put her in student care because I have the opportunity to act every so often, but I'm doing the best I can, and I want to be there for the majority. I want to be there as much as possible so she knows what it's like to have a parent in the house that actually does the work. I don't want her growing up thinking that she can just hire someone else to do all the work, because in the event that that person doesn't work out, she's going to be at a loss. In the event that, she has to go off to college and she has to manage her own time and resources, she's going to be at a loss, and I don't want that for her. So I had to take the leap and I had to create the solution for myself. So when Swamiji says these situations, these difficult situations, give us a chance to prove our trust in a higher being, it's almost like, all right, I got to take this leap of faith and I got to trust that it's going to end up well, whether I make a bunch of mistakes along the way or not, because otherwise I wouldn't be shown this gap in the system over and over again. I wouldn't be forced to use this excuse that the job is not letting me do what I need to do for my child, in order for me to realize that, hey, I'm saying this over and over again, this is a problem, and I can't afford to let it be a problem in my life. I had to find a solution. So that's one example, right? Another example is when I was in my marriage and I realized that I couldn't go on fighting the same fight over and over again. I couldn't go on having the same arguments over and over again. I couldn't go on having to beg my husband to help me financially because I had lost my job. And even though I was getting, an unemployment check, it wasn't enough to cover everything. And when he would fight me about that or make me feel bad for even asking him, I had to go through the pain of choosing which bill to pay and which bill was going to be cut off and for how long, and to haggle with these bill collectors. And it was terrible and devastating. And I felt like I was feeding a family of 5 on a meager salary of $300 a week, even though I had a husband who made 10 grand a month. So I was having a really tough time. And eventually I was like, look, I'm not going to have this argument no more. I'm not living this life anymore. I am well educated. I come from a strong background. I have made it through everything that's tried to defeat me so far, and I'm not about to let a marriage defeat me now, especially when there are kids watching every step of the way. So I had to figure out what it was that I needed to do, and I had to trust that whatever decision I made, it was going to be in my best interest, that something out there was going to show me the path once I took the decision that was before me, once I made the choice that was before me. I couldn't believe how easy it was to suddenly get the funding to get a ticket to leave the country, right? To go back to Singapore. That's not a small flight. It's not from one state to another. It's across the world, right? From one hemisphere to another. And somehow, when I made the decision to leave my husband, everything fell into place. It was like, okay, I don't know where I'm going to get the funding, but I need to tell my mom, hey, this is the thing. I'm going to leave him. I need to come back home. And she said, all right, well, let me see what I can figure out as well. And between the two of us, we figured it out. And once I got the funding, I didn't know where I was going to stay. And because my mom was in and out of Singapore, I wasn't sure which house I was going to stay at. There was the house in Hougang, which is my mother's house, and there was a house in Whampoa, which is my grandparents' house. And at the time, they were both alive, and I thought, perfect. My child does not know her great-grandparents. Why not go stay there for a while? Especially since my mom's not going to be around anyway. So while I went to go look for a job and figure out my life, I stayed with my grandparents. Everything fell into place once I made the decision, because it was the right thing for me. I had been fighting so long not to be a single parent, but apparently that was in the cards anyway. So once I made the decision to accept the fact that, yeah, I'm going to have to be a single parent for a while, everything fell into place. Same thing with the business. Once I decided I was going to make sure that I worked for myself and for no one else anymore, because now is the best time for me to try this out, it started falling into place. It started becoming an easier decision every step of the way. I reduced all of my expenses. I started looking at all of my subscriptions that I was randomly paying out, right, that I didn't notice when I had the money, and suddenly when I don't have the money, I had to pay attention to, and everything started falling into place. So it's easier from my perspective, and it's easier said than done, to accept the change as it comes and make the decision that your heart longs for. But first, most likely you're going to fight the change because it's messing with your comfort zone. It's pushing you out of familiar territory. It's begging you to take a leap of faith, which maybe you're not ready to do yet. So whatever the case may be, I realize now that when you have to meet life's challenges, to meet it with an open heart, with this trust in a higher power that somehow you will make it through, somehow it's going to work out fine, that's the only way to do these things. And no, in the detailed version of this and the day-to-day version of this, you're not going to trust right away. You're going to fight it with all your might. But eventually you're going to be like, you know what? There's no choice. This is the choice I have to make right now. And God willing, it all works out well. God willing, this turns out into a great lesson for me, and I learn something from it, and I become better and stronger and faster for it. So as I say this, I realize this is something I have to do now, even still, that I need to trust that whatever I put out next for my business, the classes, the coursework, the online PDFs, downloads, the group meetings, the group sessions, whatever I put out next, I'm going to have to trust that somehow I'm going to find my way. I'm going to figure out what my way of teaching is and what's best for me and what works best for my clients. And I'm going to have to go 100% on it. I can't hide anymore. I can't afford to pretend like this is the only way to make money. I can't just get by anymore. I mean, what is a job? We used to make fun of the words as if, it stood for just over broke. And I'm not about to have another just over broke situation. I want to thrive. I want to make a difference. I want to help people. And if I'm going to help people, that means I need to put in the effort. I need to show up as often as possible, and I can't play scared anymore. So while I was thinking that I was going to explain my life experience, I find myself giving myself the advice that I needed, and talking myself into trusting the process again, because I just explained how it's worked out every other time. And it's that aha moment that I'm able to give to clients that sometimes through this podcast I'm able to have for myself. So if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. But in the meantime, you guys, I hope you take into account what I've been through so far and what I've explained to you. And I hope you take the leap, make the choice, and trust. It's going to all work out fine. And if it isn't working out, it means it's not the end yet. You still got a ways to go. So please, trust that it's going to work out. Do what your heart is begging you to do. And go live. Really live your life. I love you guys. I'll catch you again soon. Bye.